Are you at a job that you don't enjoy and maybe even hate, and wondering how you can possibly glorify God in it? Well, hang around, we'll talk about it. Pew Research regularly surveys overall job satisfaction in the American workforce, and in their most recent study, 49% of us said we were only somewhat satisfied with our job, or worse. And get this, 12% said they were not to or not at all satisfied with their job. That's millions of people just punching the clock and biding their time until retirement. If that's you, and you're a follower of Jesus, that vocational malaise presses hard against a pretty serious command in Colossians 3:17, to do everything in Jesus' name with thankfulness, something that may seem impossible to do in your current situation. So what do? How do you glorify God in a job you hate? The Bible's answer is simple. Get a new boss. But don't call a headhunter just yet. Because you see, the boss, the Bible says that you need to work for is Christ Himself. And we learn that in some instructions the Bible gives to people whose job was most definitely worse than yours. People who were bondservants, slaves. Now, that kind of slavery wasn't the kind of slavery we think of from American history, but it was still not an enjoyable station in life. And to those workers, the Bible says this in Ephesians 6:5-8. Bondservants, obey your earthly masters with fear and trembling, with a sincere heart, as you would Christ. Get a new boss. Work as though your boss was Jesus. So how does that work? Those verses go on to explain that it's approaching your job not by way of eye service as people pleasers, but as bondservants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart, rendering service with goodwill as to the Lord and not to man, knowing that whatever good anyone does, this he will receive back from the Lord, whether he's a bondservant or free. So there's three takeaways in those verses. Approaching your job as if you were working for Christ means first that your motive for working hard is Christ's approval and not that of your earthly boss. Second, it means that you should offer your work to your employer cheerfully because you're really working for Jesus. And finally, these verses tell us that we shouldn't work for a paycheck, but for the reward that comes from being faithful to the Lord. So glorifying God in a job you dread going to each and every day means attacking your work, seeking Christ's approval with a cheerful heart and for the reward of being faithful to your real boss, Jesus. Now, none of this means that you can't ever look for another job, but it might mean that you pump the brakes before you do, because it's possible that the best opportunity you have right now to grow in Jesus might be to shine for Him in a difficult place. Want to talk about something else? Just ask by emailing justask@bluevalleychurch.org.